On the first day of our wedding, I stared at Ethan in utter shock. You never told me you're not human. His face flushed. You never asked either. Besides, merfolk count as people too. Chapter 1. Returning home before the Lunar New Year. I drove to the province. Took a bus to the county seat. Switched to a motorcycle taxi for the township transfer. Then hitched a donkey cart to the village. After hiking 3 kilometers, I finally reached home. Standing at the gate covered in dust with a giant sack of holiday goods, I spotted a young man lounging by the main hall. He wore an exquisite cyan-white overcoat with a fuzzy pink scarf, warming himself by the fire while sporting pink Hello Kitty gloves. Tears streamed down my face the moment I saw him, not just because he looked ethereally beautiful, but because every item he wore mirrored my favorite wardrobe choices. Grandma stormed out of the kitchen and smacked my shoulder mid-sob. Crying during New Year's? Wailing over your old granny's legs? Useless lump, I sniffled, glancing at her perfectly functional legs before managing a teary chuckle. Grandma, I'm jet-lagged. Go easy on the scolding. She rolled her eyes. That's Ethan. Get acquainted, you're taking him back with you after the holidays. Find him a job? Don't worry. I'm management material now. My proud rambling got cut off. Job? You're getting married. The betrothal was settled when you were toddlers. He traveled halfway across the world to wed you. My 20 years of education seemingly evaporated as I gaped at Ethan. The fair-skinned beauty bit his lip, shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter at my dumbstruck expression. When Grandma declared Ethan would be my bride, I sputtered. He's male, right? I'm the female here? So what? She shrugged. Their family follows matrilocal customs. He's your wife now. Light dawned, of course he'd be the bride. I appraised his porcelain complexion and elegant hands, momentarily appeased. Then reality struck. But Grandma, why should I marry some stranger? Her eyebrow arched. You objecting to this face? Ethan blushed crimson under my scrutiny, his fair skin flushing like cherry blossoms against snow, more radiant than any TV idol. I mumbled. No objections. I'd heard of holiday matchmaking, but arriving home to an instant husband? Grandma waved a century-old golden marriage certificate from our Republican-era ancestors, the last vestige of arranged weddings in modern China, apparently binding me to Ethan. Turns out our families made this pact during wartime relocations, when the Millers sheltered my refugee ancestors. I never got told because Grandma never imagined anyone would track us to this godforsaken village, a place even GPS abandons, where elders outnumber youth 20-fold. As Grandma happily rummaged through dowry chests, I studied our wedding license with mixed feelings. Arguing seemed pointless. She's 94, and Ethan's blush could power a Christmas light display. I wasn't targeting Ethan specifically. The handsome young man had traveled all the way from the coast, a feat that spoke either of genuine determination or questionable sanity. Every Lunar New Year, it had just been Grandma and me. This year, Ethan joined us. Grandma wandered her vegetable patch while Ethan hovered near the fireplace, bundled like a burrito against the cold. After changing into home clothes, I started prepping vegetables. Ethan watched curiously before tentatively reaching for an onion. Tears streamed down his face the moment he peeled the first layer. We both froze, him blinking through stinging eyes, me gaping at the spectacle. When he tried rubbing his eyes, the burning intensified. By the time I handed him wet wipes, his eyelids had puffed into pink cushions. Grandma chose that exact moment to return with frost-dusted cabbage. Her gasp could have shattered windows. Olivia! What did you do to Ethan? I didn't make him do anything. He cried from peeling onions. Ethan tugged Grandma's sleeve, voice raspy from tears. My fault. I wanted to help. It was the first time I'd heard him speak, no trace of childishness. Just calm clarity that somehow diffused my irritation. His words floated like feathers settling on still water. I fetched sugar. Close your eyes. Ethan tilted his face upward, statue still as I patted granules onto his tear-salted skin. When I turned to leave, his fingers brushed mine. Don't go. I can't see. Northern winter chilled my hands to icicles. He cupped them briefly before tucking my fingers under his scarf against his neck. Skin met skin, a lightning strike of warmth. My pulse roared as his collarbone burned through my frozen fingertips. Holy hell. This was seduction. I stood trapped. Hand buried in his scarf cocoon. Face hotter than chili oil. Thank God he couldn't witness my full-body blush. We both stayed through the holidays. Grandma berated my sleep schedule, night owl. Late riser. Skipping breakfast then scavenging midnight snacks. Ethan parroted awkwardly. Night owl. I yanked the quilt down to glare. He instantly studied the frost-glazed persimmon tree outside. Later, he crouched by my bed whispering. Hungry? Starving. No hot meals allowed. Want persimmons? Yeah. He paused at the doorway when I added. Wait. I'll join you. Winter had crystallized the fruits still clinging to branches. Though Grandma had harvested the plumpest ones for our windowsill. We split one between us. Teeth crunching through sugary ice shards. Frozen persimmons for breakfast? Stomachache'll teach you. Grandma scolded. Only half each. She huffed but held her tongue, Ethan's participation granting me clemency. Wind lashed like knives the next morning as I hung New Year provisions in the yard. Ethan became my shadow, handing tools. Steadying ladders. We stocked enough meat and preserves to hibernate through the holiday. After Laba Festival, I mended Grandma's kitchen, sharpening dull blades. Rewiring flickering lights. What couldn't be fixed required trips to the village store. But Ethan's presence turned chores into something quieter. Warmer. Like embers glowing long after the fire dies. Most things could be fixed. Though it was tedious. Ethan stayed to help. Asking why I didn't just replace everything since new parts weren't expensive. I shook my head. Grandma had grown sentimental about old belongings in her later years. New replacements sometimes made her wistful. He nodded thoughtfully. Working more diligently afterward. While I repaired items. I'd occasionally turn to find him staring blankly at me. When our eyes met, he said with earnest admiration, Olivia, you're amazing. His eyes sparkled with undisguised worship beneath those unfairly pretty features. I pretended to study the sky, letting cold air cool my burning cheeks. I suspected deliberate flirtation but lacked proof. On New Year's Eve, fireworks briefly animated our quiet village. Grandma watched from the courtyard until night winds made me urge her inside. The variety show blared from the living room TV. Seniors didn't recognize celebrities but enjoyed the festive noise. Warmth from the brazier soon lulled me asleep. Grandma woke me at midnight with red envelopes. Ethan held one too. Over already? I yawned. Off to bed. Both of you. She shooed. After locking up, I found Grandma rubbing her temples. How was the show? Can't remember a thing. She grumbled. I dissolved into laughter at her grumpy honesty. Ethan quietly made her bed before we finally left her resting. We sat watching neighboring villages light the New Year's sky. Will Grandma come with us? Ethan asked. At my headshake. His face fell like a scolded child's. Moonlight silvered my confession. She refuses to leave. Says she's rooted here. Even rejected my money, claims cash is useless except for burial in this godforsaken nowhere. My throat tightened. So I'll visit often. You're welcome to join me anytime. Ethan. His smile returned. Warm and impossible to dislike. When departure day came, Ethan wore my winter clothes. The southern coastal native had arrived in threadbare summer wear. Nearly freezing. Our amusement died when car sickness hit. He vomited repeatedly yet never complained during pit stops. How did your family let their pampered prince travel so far? I finally asked during his 5th nausea break. Gaze lowered. He answered, adulthood requires fulfilling engagements. I came to live with my betrothed. Silence choked me. This sheltered man had crossed half the country for a century-old marriage pact, no friends. No family here. Had he been female? I'd have called it delusional. Yet his vulnerable determination evoked pity over mockery. We cleaned my dusty two-bedroom apartment, my entire savings poured into this foothold city. Ethan quietly folded my spare sweaters. This strange boy who'd anchored himself to my life through ancestral promises and relentless sincerity. I still remember when I first bought this house. I called Grandma, and she was furious, not about the purchase itself, but because I hadn't told her beforehand. The feisty old lady traveled over 500 miles that very day with her little satchel. She shoved cash into my hands along with a jade bracelet whose quality I couldn't discern. "It's extremely valuable," she insisted. When I asked how valuable, she revealed our family once sold an identical piece. "For $1 million?" I gasped. "Silver tails," she corrected with an eye roll. Classic Grandma. The bracelet never fit me, too loose around my wrist. Yet when Ethan appeared during my renovations, it slid perfectly onto his lean, muscular forearm. The pale jade glowed against his skin. Infuriatingly elegant. "Why does it fit you?" I snapped. "Because it's mine," he declared matter-of-factly. "Your family commissioned this as my betrothal gift." My scoff echoed through the half-empty living room. "Then where's your dowry?" His expression froze. After frantically searching every pocket and bag, those whiskey-colored eyes widened in genuine panic. "Olivia, I lost it." "Bullshit," I retorted, though his trembling hands unsettled me. For weeks afterward, Ethan haunted my couch like a Victorian ghost, pale, drawn, knees hugged to his chest. The breaking point came when I returned from work to find him chewing his thumbnail raw. "Enough." I gripped his face. "Our noses inches apart. Who cares about some stupid dowry? Consider it my loss." His hand snaked behind my neck, yanking me forward. Teeth pierced my throat, sharp, metallic, yet strangely euphoric. My knees buckled as warmth flooded my veins, like sinking into tropical waters. When he finally released me, blood beaded where his canine had broken skin. Ethan licked his lips, that devastating smile reappearing. "Sweet. Casual contact should be safe, as long as we avoid." His murmur faded into the twilight. Later, as he chopped vegetables with military precision, I puzzled over the enigma in my kitchen, the vanished heirloom. The cryptic bite. His sudden recovery. My fingers brushed the twin punctures. Already healed. The sizzle of garlic drowned my racing thoughts. Whatever game Ethan played, hunger overrode suspicion when he placed steaming pasta before me. Strangely, the incident became our turning point. The melancholic wraith transformed into a sunshine-filled companion who sang off-key while scrubbing my bathtub. Yet sometimes I'd catch him staring at my throat. Amber eyes darkening, a predator's gaze that made my pulse spike in ways I refused to examine. He used to learn cooking from his grandma back in the village, and now he could actually prepare 3 meals a day, sometimes even taking the subway to deliver them to my office. During my lunchtime meetings, he'd wait in my office. The glass door became a spectacle every passerby would peek inside. The moment I stepped out, teasing glances followed me down the hallway. My boss even patted my shoulder with a grin. "Atta girl. Olivia. Thought you'd die single, but you went home for the holidays and tricked some pretty young thing into coming here." My face burned as I dashed back inside, slamming the opacity switch on the glass door. The muted "oh" from colleagues outside still reached us. Ethan looked up innocently, holding a lunch container. "I mastered sweet and sour ribs today." All my protests dissolved into a strained, impressive. That evening as we left, Ethan's canvas tote of clean containers clinked against someone's briefcase. I looked up to see Mr. Chin, our CFO, back from his Singapore trip. His gaze narrowed at Ethan. "Your brother?" Before I could respond, Ethan declared, "We're engaged." I died a little inside. My adorable fiancé had just torpedoed my career with 4 words. Mr. Chen's jaw tightened. Olivia. My office. 2 p.m. After seeing Ethan to the subway, I trudged back. It had been years since I'd been summoned like this. We went way back. Mr. Chen had been my mentor since I was 22. He drilled one rule into me: no relationships for 5 years. Now in year 6. I still found myself under his glare. Do you think you're some hotshot now? His voice cut through the mahogany office. Ready to juggle board meetings with diaper changes? If you want to throw away everything we built, just say so. Remember your promises, Olivia. My nails bit into my palms. It won't affect my work. I'll handle it. That night, I picked at Ethan's mapo tofu. You don't need to bring me lunches anymore. His chopsticks froze. What? I don't like your cooking. You're lying. His eyes narrowed. So what if I am? You think I'd choose some penniless country boy over my career? The words tasted like ash. As I slammed my bedroom door, hysterical laughter bubbled up. I'd become the villain from those toxic romance novels. The kind who breaks hearts before the commercial break. My muffled sobs must have been louder than I thought. At 2 a.m. Ethan's hesitant knock came. Olivia? I got a job today. With my voice trembling from suppressed sobs, I knocked on the door of the neighboring bedroom. Ethan. Open up. Ethan emerged sleepily in his fuzzy pajamas. Voice still hoarse from sleep. Olivia. He instinctively caught me when I threw myself into his arms. Olivia. Don't cry. Ethan. I lied earlier. I don't hate you. I love you. My confession was swallowed by his kiss. Later, when passion overwhelmed us, I tearfully begged Ethan to stay away from me. He cradled my face. Why? You ruined everything. I hiccuped between sobs. My entire life, I hate you. Being the decent man he was, Ethan honored my request. The next morning, I clutched my aching waist while staring at the empty apartment, weeping uncontrollably. What kind of bastard leaves like that after a night together? I clung to hope maybe he'd gone grocery shopping, taking a personal day. I waited until sunset. When he never returned, I consoled myself that perhaps his shopping list was exceptionally long. Weeks passed, coming home to cold rooms instead of warm meals. I found no trace of Ethan's existence. He'd taken everything, even my $1 million bracelet. The realization made me cry harder. Of course there were no perfect husbands falling from the sky. Just scammers. Yet here I was, the idiot romantic, still making excuses for the man who'd swindled me out of money and affection. Too pathetic to even file a police report. 3 months later, I sold the apartment. Ethan wasn't coming back, and neither could I keep clinging to the past. While packing, I rediscovered the antique golden marriage certificate engraved with Ethan and Olivia, a century-old document that had materialized this surreal romance. I nearly called Grandma for answers, but ultimately hesitated. Chinsure was right, I had dreams to chase. My new luxury condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline sat empty as I pulled all-nighters at the office. That year's stellar performance boosted company profits. When shareholders elected Chinsure as chairman with 57% votes early next year, I eagerly anticipated my promotion to general manager. His veto shocked me. Storming into his office, I found Chinsure looking exactly as he had when we first met, wire-rimmed glasses framing calculating eyes. You promised me that position, Olivia. He smiled patronizingly. The GM role requires endless client dinners and drinking. You hate that scene. That's not the point. You know I'm willing to adapt. You of all people understand my ambitions. Removing his glasses, Chinsure chuckled with condescending amusement. Effort alone doesn't guarantee promotions. There are alternative paths. His gaze turned predatory. The position's still available. Your choice. The truth hit me like icy water. I suddenly remembered why I'd trusted him years ago. That night he'd shielded me from a drunk client's advances, passionately vowing we'd achieve our dreams together. The memory now tasted like ash. Time flew by so fast. I couldn't tell whether Ethan had changed or if I'd misjudged him from the start. I closed my eyes briefly and laughed bitterly. One sentence from you turned all my hard work into a joke. Ethan. He raised an eyebrow. Wasn't climbing the corporate ladder your dream? Wasn't it all about the money? Stop pretending to be noble. Olivia. You're inches away from your goal now. I shook my head. No. That was never my dream. When I first entered the workforce, I'd endured countless hands groping under banquet tables. I'd fought back, broken down, quit jobs, but there was no escape. Maybe because I'd been drenched by the storm. I wanted to hold an umbrella for others. My real dream was to climb high enough to shield those behind me from workplace harassment and humiliation. I'd once believed Ethan would walk that path with me. Now I realized, damn, Ethan was the biggest trash leading the pack. I stopped arguing after his last remark. Leaving his office, I sat at my desk for hours before submitting my resignation. When the notice reached Ethan, he froze. He couldn't fathom why I'd abandoned everything after grinding through projects until I collapsed from low blood sugar. What he didn't see was his own panic. He'd chosen me not just for my looks, but because I delivered flawless projects and built a loyal team. My presence bolstered his bid for CEO. Replacing me? Impossible. He tried bargaining first. Don't be rash. Olivia. Stay, and I'll bump your salary. When silence answered, he dangled promotions. We can discuss a VP role by year-end. Then came the threats. Remember that groping video from your early days? Olivia? I could leak it. I grinned. Do it. I'll sue you into oblivion. His eyes turned venomous. No firm will touch you after this. You'll crawl back begging. I laughed louder, struck by how cartoonishly villainous he'd become. Can't wait to see that day. I left and started my own company. Nearly my entire team followed, some drawn by loyalty, others by shared dreams. We turned my apartment into an office, a makeshift wall separating my mattress from workstations. 2 years of sleepless nights later, we went public. When Grandma called asking why I hadn't visited, why Ethan and I drifted apart. If I was happy, I shattered. Work's busy. I hiccuped. Ethan's gone. I'm not okay. Troublemaker. She barked through the phone. One day without watching you. Anne. Keep scolding. I begged through tears. I miss you. Crazy girl. But not too harsh. The journey home required a car, bus, motorcycle, taxi, donkey cart, and finally 3 miles on foot. When our farmhouse appeared, I ran. After years away, I pushed open the door and saw Grandma stuffing a quilt. She glared at me. Back? I felt inexplicably disappointed, half expecting Ethan to materialize like he did 3 years ago when I'd found him warming himself by the fire. But only Grandma remained, ordering me to feed chickens, ducks, and pigs. Why keep doing this at your age? I asked. Come live comfortably in the city. For once she didn't scold. Leaning in her recliner, she mused. Your grandfather's grave is here. He stayed with me our whole lives. I can't abandon him now. Besides, 98's hardly old. Prime working years. Baffling, yet awe-inspiring. After 2 weeks, she waved me off saying, go home. Maybe he'll return soon. My breath caught. Though skeptical, hope flickered. I waited for Ethan to fall from the sky. Instead, the heavens sent a child. A little girl tackled me on the street, shrieking "Mama!" with alarming conviction. Her death grip hug made me suspect toddler trafficking. As I debated taking this tiny con artist to the police, She suddenly yelled, "Daddy!" Ethan stood behind us holding grocery bags. Confusion morphing into recognition. When I passed him the child, he mechanically set her down before crushing me in an embrace. Below us, the girl rummaged through his snacks with practiced ease. Sniffling, I demanded, "Who's she? Why is she calling you Dad?" After frantic gesturing failed, Ethan lifted the girl. "She's mine." "Oh, you're married." "Never married." "You absolute scoundrel." "Knocked someone up without." His shocked expression mirrored someone witnessing sacrilege. Truthfully, my decade-long crush on Ethan stemmed mainly from his stupidly perfect face. Now seeing him as a deadbeat dad killed the fantasy. I'm no homewrecker. Yet Ethan kept thrusting the child at me. "Hold her." "No." "Why? Don't you want her?" The pair's identical wounded puppy eyes made me question reality. Had I sleep-birthed this kid? When I finally took her, she nuzzled my neck chirping "Mama." My resolve melted. "What's your name?" "Emily." That rainy autumn day, Emily splashed in puddles wearing pink rain boots while I held the umbrella. When she finally crashed into my arms shouting "Mommy," my heart clenched. Those Miller family eyes undid me completely. Before realizing, I'd buckled her into my car seat. Emily was clueless but obediently sat in her car seat. When the nurse asked what I needed, I gritted my teeth. "I want paternity tests." 2 tests, one between Ethan and Emily to confirm if she's truly his child, and another between me and Emily. I didn't fully understand why I did the second one. But since we were here, later, I stared at both test results in stunned silence. Ethan didn't understand why I suddenly dragged him to get married. But he'd already run away once. I couldn't let him bolt again. Even if he tried, I needed legal grounds to report him missing this time. The courthouse was nearly empty. Within an hour, Olivia and Ethan became legally wed. Ethan kept staring at the marriage certificate like it might bite him as I shoved him back into the car. He looked utterly bewildered when I pulled him into our bedroom. His face flushed crimson when I pinned him to the mattress. "Olivia!" he protested hoarsely. I checked my phone. It's 1 p.m. Emily's preschool bus drops her off at 5:30. His blush deepened as I continued. "That leaves 4.5 hours. We'll need an hour to clean up. So 3.5 hours exactly." Realization dawned on him. "No." "Why?" "We're legally married now." "Olivia, it's broad daylight." "So? People might see." "See what?" I tilted my head. His voice cracked. "The tale." "What kind of tale?" "Olivia, get away from me. Please." "Ethan, the test shows Emily's biologically mine." "What did you mean years ago when you said you gave birth?" Silence hung thick until his trembling hand guided mine to the shimmering blue scales beneath his waist. The cool, iridescent tail I'd accidentally discovered in our bathtub yesterday stretched nearly 6 feet. "Here," he whispered. "The brood pouch." Holy Mother of God. My brain short-circuited before another realization hit. "Wait, you mean when I was measuring your tail yesterday? You kept rubbing it." Ethan's ears turned scarlet. "Fish have biological responses too." I ran into Chinchur unexpectedly at the hospital weeks later. He grabbed my wrist as we passed, only for Ethan to bodily wedge himself between us. Chen's smile turned bitter as curious bystanders gathered. "So it's because of him?" Chen's laugh held no humor. "We built years together." "Olivia, you'd throw it all away for some guy?" Ethan was startled by the surrounding crowd, instinctively furrowing his brows to push through but retreating under their stares. I snapped back to reality, almost laughing as I pulled Ethan behind me. "Tim, could you stop being so shameless? Betrayal? How dare you even say that? You promised me a promotion but failed to deliver. Then threatened me and pressured subordinates into compromising situations. Do you think I'm too ashamed to expose your threats? Or that these are leverage against me? Olivia, must you be so harsh?" Aren't you embarrassed? Without me, you'd have nothing. Tim. My achievements come from hard work. The fault was never mine. Nor should I feel ashamed. Don't you dare lecture me, you've lost that right. As whispers swirled around Tim, I turned away. The crowd finally parted under my glare. Before I could leave, he shouted, "Olivia! I got fired, happy now? Fantastic news. Thanks for telling me, I'll celebrate properly." I genuinely relished his downfall more than any personal success. Treating the whole company to lunch, I gave everyone the afternoon off. Rushing home, I needed to comfort Emily. My biological daughter had just gotten vaccinated and was feeling lethargic. Epilogue, Grace. My name is Grace. Before Stephen Chow's films made Rian a punchline, my name was unremarkable. The teasing turned vicious as I grew prettier until Olivia entered my life. Olivia was my best friend and an absolute lunatic. She'd fistfight anyone mocking me. I'd patch her up while her grandmother scolded. "Can't you ever behave? They deserved it," Olivia would retort, chin stubbornly raised. I marveled at her courage, wishing I had half her fire. Years later, we worked together, me in HR, her in project management. When a client groped her during negotiations, she smashed a wine bottle over his head without blinking. I quit laughing when Olivia got fired, then resigned myself. Through 6 job changes, I kept recruiting her until she declared, "I'm starting my own company." "Let's do it," I said instantly. She hugged me, breath warm against my neck. "Grace, you're my everything." "I love you too," I whispered, cupping her face. Olivia radiated fearless confidence, magnetizing talent. Half her team followed voluntarily, the rest I recruited by understanding what ambitious women needed. At her wedding rehearsal dinner, drunk on champagne and moonlight, Olivia brandished a tree branch like Excalibur. "The dragon-slaying princess prevails." I laughed until tears fell. She stumbled over, confusion softening her features. "Why are you crying?" "Time to take my princess home," I deflected. "No." She swung the branch wildly. "I'm the knight." "Not tonight." I steadied her. "For once, let me protect you." But her fingers brushed my wet cheek. "Why still sad?" "The fairy tale's happy ending." "Because stories lie," I whispered. "They never warn that saving the princess just means losing her to some prince."